Hi, how are you? So, I am very excited for this. This is our first video of the semester, the introductory video, and we're going to talk about two things in this video. First of all, I'm going to give you kind of a short introduction of myself, just so you know your teacher a little bit better, as well as we're also going to go over the syllabus. And I'm kind of excited to go through that with you. I'm hoping the major things we should have talked about on Monday, but we are going to talk a little bit more in a little bit more depth and detail on some of the things. I'm going to try to keep this short. I know you don't want to spend too much time sitting and listening to me speak, so hopefully we'll get through this quickly. So let's just dive into it. I am still somewhat new to this technology, so please bear with me as I kind of get used to it and figure it out. All right, so start off, I've got my awesome PowerPoint here. You will notice I love PowerPoints. I rely on them heavily. They save me. So, my name is Mrs. Leah Child. Hopefully you already know that. Let me tell you a little bit about my family first, just because I feel like my family is the most important thing to me. So, as you see in the center here, this is me with my husband, Gregory, or Greg. Some of you may recognize him. His name is Greg Child. He teaches classes here at Kirkwood as well. And he also is a student at the University of Iowa for one more year as he finishes up his dissertation. So we have been in Iowa for a little over 5 years. And in those 5 years, we have had 2 kids. This is our oldest. This is James. He is 3 years old. He's a complete ham, okay, which is a term we use just to mean he's a character. He keeps us busy. He's goofy. He's crazy, as you can tell as in this picture where he's dressed up like a robot. And then over here is my youngest. This is Lucy. She is 1 year old. And she also keeps us busy. She absolutely adores her older brother and does everything she can to keep up with him, including walking. She started walking at 9.5 months, which was a little bit crazy, but that's just kind of her personality. Keeps us busy. So that's my family. Not much more to say about that. People always ask me where I'm from, and that's always a hard question for me to answer because I've lived lots of different places. I was born in Utah, and then my family, we moved to Florida, and I was still pretty much a baby. And then from Florida, we moved back to Utah. And then when I was 4 years old, we moved out to Virginia, and we lived there for 6 years. So we felt like Virginia was home. It was awesome. I loved it there. But after 6 years, we then moved to Wisconsin for 4, and then moved back down to Florida because we got frozen in Wisconsin, so we had to thaw out in Florida. And we stayed there for a few years. During that time, I turned 18 and was ready to start college. So I actually went to college in Idaho. And then when I was 19, my parents moved to Virginia. So in the summer, when I was home for the summer when I was 19, family packed up. Hey, I was going to school over here in Idaho. My parents moved out to Virginia, so then Virginia again became my home. Moved back to Virginia, of course, once I graduated from college. Then I went up to Massachusetts for 1.5 years, and that was where I first had the opportunity to teach ESL, and I volunteered in a library. It was just kind of local, nothing too exciting, and I absolutely loved it. And so after being in Massachusetts for 1.5 years, I decided, hey, I want to get a master's degree in this. So I went out to Utah for school where I met Greg and we got married, and then we came out to Iowa for Greg's school at the University of Iowa. And here we've been for almost 6 years now. It's very, very crazy. So I guess, yeah, it's been awesome. So it's kind of a little bit of different places I've been. So if you have questions about any of these places, I could probably answer them because, yeah, I've lived lots of places. All right. So moving on, another question I get is, where did I go to school? What did I get my degrees in? All that kind of information. So for my undergraduate, so for my bachelor's degree, I went to a school in Idaho. It was called BYU Idaho. And I got my degree in history. I started out with something completely different and decided, hey, you know what? I love history. I love learning about it. I love spending time reading about it. So I got my degree in history. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And so that's my, discovering in Massachusetts that I wanted to teach ESL. So I went to Utah State University to get my master's in teaching English as a second language. The degree itself was specifically called second language teaching. So, I interacted with people that were going to be teaching French, German, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese. Lots of different nationalities were part of that program. It was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. And then we moved out here to Iowa, and I've been working at Kirkwood pretty much since then. So, yep, that's about it. If you have any questions about me, feel free to ask me. I'm happy to answer them. All right, so now let's see, we're going to do a little switch here. So we're going to go from talking about me, where, I'm sure that was fascinating. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our syllabus. Okay, let me get this pulled up here. All right, so like I said, the most important stuff, hopefully we covered in class on Monday. I'm just going to kind of review it and hit hard maybe some of those other things we might not have spent as much time on. So, let's see, most of this information you should already know. My office, okay, is room 125, so across from the one stop, the room where there's Lori and Betty, and then there's a room with a bunch of computers. That's the office. My email, if you want to contact me about any official, like if you have questions about grades or anything like that, you need to email me at this email address, okay, at Kirkwood. If you go on to Talon, send me an email through Talon, I will receive it. If, you just need to send me a quick email to let me know if you're going to miss class or anything like that, then you can send it to Gmail. I prefer that you use Kirkwood. I just know that sometimes students have a hard time for whatever reason, and so I have that Gmail account set up just for Kirkwood. So feel free to email me there. My office hours, my schedule this summer is just crazy enough. I couldn't set a specific time that I would be in my office. But if you want to meet with me, I will be happy to schedule an appointment with you. So be sure, again, if you want to be with me outside of class, just talk to me. I can I'll make it work. Summer is just kind of a crazy time for me, and my schedule at home is changing halfway through the semester, and so I didn't want to put up 2 sets of office hours. So in about 3 weeks, I think I will have established office hours, and I will let you know when that happens. So just so that you're aware of that. Let's see, what class this is. All right, course description. So what we're doing in this class, obviously, we're going to be learning grammar, and you're going to be practicing grammar. So it says continuous practice in English grammar for non-native speakers of English at the advanced intermediate level. Provides practice in using English grammar fluently in writing, reading, and speaking. All right, so we will be doing a lot of all 3 of those. And I really want to focus a great deal on actually practicing, because we can talk about it, we can discuss all the grammar rules, and it can be very interesting, but until you're actually using the grammar, you don't know whether you actually understand it or not. So, sometimes we'll talk about, something with grammar and maybe you're a little bit iffy. Sometimes you just have to dive in, do the activity, practice it, and then either you understand it or you now know what questions to ask, and I can better help you. So we are going to be doing lots of practicing. All right, so enough of that. Let's do course materials. So you need You should have your books by now, all right? It's a summer class. We really don't have a lot of time. You need to get your books. So the books are, we've got the Focus on Grammar 4 book, as well as the Focus on Grammar 4 workbook, which, as you know, we're not going to be doing a ton of homework from the workbook. We'll do a little bit, but not a ton. But still bring it to class, because I will try to incorporate some of those activities into our lessons. So make sure you have those with you. All right, when you complete this course, you will be able to, hopefully, if we get through all of these, that's my goal, you'll be able to use modal auxiliaries correctly in both speaking and writing, be able to connect ideas in higher level sentence structure, okay, which is always very important. Sometimes it's hard when we're using all, some of this different grammar, to be able to connect the ideas from one idea to another in a sentence when it's got more complex grammar. So hopefully as we practice, you'll get more used to it and you'll be able to make those connections. Students will use comparative and superlative forms. You'll construct higher level sentences in both passive and active voice. This is something that you might get more focus on in your writing classes, but we are going to be covering in this class. Students will use adjective clauses and noun clauses in speaking and writing. We'll use gerunds and infinitives correctly at a higher level. You'll review verbs and expand your verb repertoire, which basically just means that you're going to be learning a lot more new verbs. All right, students will use tag questions with competence. So you'll be able to use tag questions, you'll be able to use conditionals, adjective and noun clauses, and you will also be able to effectively use direct speech. So these are all of the different things, so it's a lot. Okay, I'm just telling you that right now. It's a lot. I'm hoping to get through most of these. All right, so I'm excited for it. We'll see how it goes. Class attendance. All right, this is something, again, we should have discussed on Monday, but always good to review it and recover it just in case I forgot something. So I'm just going to kind of read through it. Attendance, so starting right here. Okay, attendance is extremely important to a student's success in this class. You have to be in class, all right? If you don't come to class, you're not learning, so come to class. And so what I do, and those of you that have had me before should be familiar with this policy already, but absences are not excused, okay? Don't come and, ask me, is it all right if I miss class on this day? No, it's never all right to miss class. I understand that sometimes things come up that mean you have to miss class, but you're missing class and you're missing valuable time in class. So what I do is you are allowed 2 absences. All right, so you can miss class 2 times, all right, before your grade lowers 1/2 letter grade. Let me highlight this here for you, just kind of emphasize it a little bit more. So you're allowed 2 absences, okay, that you can miss. All right, if you miss 3, then your grade is going to start lowering. So you can miss 2 times, won't affect your grade, because I understand emergencies happen, things come up, doctor's appointments, meetings, life happens. So you have 2 absences for when those things happen. Do not use those absences because you're too tired to come to class, all right? That's not a good use of those absences, because if you get sick or if something happens and you have to miss class, and if you use those 2 absences because you were tired and then you have 2 more emergencies, that's bad, because if you miss essentially 4 hours, or not 4 hours, 4 days, okay, total of 8 hours of class time. So if you miss 4 days, you automatically fail the class, because that is missing 1 week of class. If you miss 1 week in a summer semester, you will not be ready to move forward in the class. You won't be able to perform well in the class, and you will not be able to, be successful in level 5. So if you miss 8 hours or 4 classes, you will fail. All right. So just to repeat, you can miss class 2 times. It won't hurt your grade. All right, class. I hope all of you know this. Class starts at 10:10. all right? If you come in at 10:11, you're late. All right, class starts at 10:10. I expect you to be seated in your chairs, ready to learn at 10:10. If you come in at 10:11, then I'm sorry, you will be late for the day, and you will lose a point. So for your attendance grade, it's a total of 3 points. You get 1 point for coming to class on time, all right? And then you get 1 point for coming to class and 1 point for participating in class. All right, and those participation points are extremely important. I have students that they don't really pay attention to those, and it can affect your grade. All right, so if you come late, you will lose a point because you're coming to class late. Right, and it's disruptive to me and to your classmates. In addition, class ends at 12. All right, if you leave class early, then you will lose a point. All right, so I expect you to be there for the entire class. Next, let's talk about homework. Okay, if I give you any homework assignments that you have to turn in, then they will be collected at the beginning of class. All right, if you don't have the assignment ready or you're gone for a day, then you must hand in a late assignment no later than the beginning of the next class meeting. So if you don't give me the homework on a Tuesday, then you need to give it to me by the time class starts on Wednesday. If you try to give it to me on Thursday, I will not accept it. All right? Now, any assignments on talent are to be completed before class. Anytime you have a video to watch, you will be expected to complete a quiz, all right, just a short quiz. So make sure that you do it before class because those quizzes are on talent and they close and you will not be able to get into them, all right, once class starts. And you cannot make those quizzes up, all right? If you miss it, you miss it, okay? And those assignments on talent will go towards your homework grade. All right, late assignments will not receive full credits. Even if you give something to me, but you give it to me late, you'll get points. I'll have to take some points off for giving it to me late. If I do give it any quizzes in class, unannounced quizzes, all right, because I can do that. I can just say, hey, guess what? Today we're having a quiz. And if you're not there for that quiz, you cannot make it up. And obviously, if you're not here to participate in the class activities, you can't make those up. So make sure you're in class just so you don't miss those quizzes or activities. When you miss a test day, okay, you must take, if you miss a test day, you must take a makeup test within 3 days. So, like, let's say the test is on, we'll say, if the test is on Thursday, because I think we have a few tests on Thursday. So if the test is on Thursday, then, I'll give you Friday, and I won't count Saturday and Sunday, all right? So Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. You'll have those days to take the test. All right, by Wednesday, you're out of luck. Let's see. Test day rules, my favorite new section that I've added. So when, with a test, on the day of a test, I have a set of rules that I'm going to start enforcing. So the first rule is that students will turn in their phones to the instructor, okay? I do not want you to have your phone during the test, so you're gonna turn them in. All phones will be placed at the front of the classroom where they will be visible to all the students. And I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do that on our first test day, which I believe is on Thursday. So, it's gonna be a system that's gonna be organized to make sure that people's phones don't get mixed up or anything. So, be ready for that. No bags or computers will be allowed on the tables, only pen or pencils. No talking will be allowed. If a student talks during a test, they may be told to turn in their test early. All right, so no talking. Seating also will be assigned on the day of a test. So if you have a seat that you like sitting in, just be prepared that on test day you might not be sitting in that seat. And these are all rules that I have decided to put into place because of problems of cheating that I have had with past classes. And I do not want you to be tempted to cheat, so I'm taking away those temptations. All right, so a productive classroom learning environment, all right? This is how we create a positive learning environment, because if it's an environment that's not comfortable for people, they're not gonna learn. All right, so basically, in a productive learning environment, faculty and students work cooperatively, recognize differences, and model the values of character and citizenship, and become lifelong learners. All right, so some of the ways in which we do this, okay, is first of all, students will show respect by attending class on time and staying for the entire class, kind of like what we've talked about before. Being prepared, your homework has to be completed before class, all right? You do not do homework in class. It's something that you do, well, at home, which is why it's called homework. So make sure you do it at home and be prepared for class. You should contribute to class discussions, okay? If I, put you in with, put you in groups, okay, I expect you to kind of be part of that group. You also need to be willing to work as partners with other class members, all right? So if I say, all right, get with a partner, I expect you to get with a partner. You also need to, you need to meet deadlines. When I give you a due date, it means I expect you to follow that due date. Also, if students are expected to ask a question when the material being covered does not make sense. All right, this is extremely important. If you do not understand something, either something in one of these videos or something in, something that we talked about in class, you need to ask me a question, because if you don't ask the questions, I'll just assume that you're understanding it. And, if you're not and you don't ask me a question, then you're just going to continue to be confused. So ask those questions. Also, I expect you to turn off your cell phones, or at least put them on vibrate. All right. Basically, I don't want little songs jingling out all of a sudden in the middle of an activity. I do not want you to answer your call. Do not answer your phone. I do understand sometimes it's an emergency situation and you have to take the phone, okay. But if it's your friend that's calling to chat and it's a phone call that can wait, then let it wait. Also, sending texts is extremely inappropriate during class, all right? So don't do it. So these are all the things that I expect from you. And in return, okay, as an instructor, what I expect, what I will be doing, and kind of in return for you showing respect through this, I will show respect to you by I will always be to class on time. I will always come prepared for our lessons, all right? I will always do my best to answer your questions, and if I don't know the answer to the question, I will find the answer, all right? I'm not, I don't know everything about grammar, and sometimes I want to double check to make sure I give you the correct answer. So I might not get you the answer in that moment, right? But I will get you an answer. Also, I won't be taking phone calls or sending texts on my phone, all right? I will probably have it on vibrate, just because, if something happens with my kids and my husband has to call, I need to be able to take that phone call, right? So I will probably have it on vibrate, but if somebody just calls for whatever, I'm not going to answer it in the middle of class. I will also try to return assignments in a timely manner. And, I think that's about covers it. So I will do my part, and I ask you to do your part as well. Okay, so plagiarism. On to plagiarism. I'm really not going to go over this too much, but basically, do not copy other people's work, all right? Any work that you turn in has to be your own work. Just because you write it down in your pencil does not make it your work, okay? It has to come from your brain as well. If I catch you cheating or plagiarizing, I will report you. Okay, this is level 4. You should, sorry, that's gonna bother me. You should, you know what is right and what is not right. And cheating is not right, all right? This is hopefully something that I talked about on Monday, but just in case I forgot, I'm just gonna say it again. Cheating is lying, okay? So if you copy your friend's homework, okay, or if you look over during a test and you copy, that's lying, all right? And so, I hope, you don't lie on a regular basis, so don't cheat, okay? Cheating is lying. And so if I catch you cheating, I will report you, you'll fill the assignment, and a note will be put in your record with Kirkwood. All right, so don't do it. All right. Moving on, midterm grades. Let's see. No, we don't really have much to talk about with midterms. It's something I have to include in the syllabus. But with the summer 6-week course, we're not really going to have a midterm. So let's move on to student evaluation with kind of how it's broken down. So 40% of your grade will be, tests will be worth 40% of your grade. And so tests are important, don't miss tests. Homework is worth 25% of your grades. That includes like watching these videos, taking the quizzes after you watch the videos, and then any workbook or maybe any other additional assignments I give you. Your midterm is worth 10% as well as your final. So both the midterm and the final are extremely important tests. Your attendance and participation is worth 10% of your grade. And then your presentation, which if we did not talk about in class on Monday, we will talk about on Tuesday. So your presentation will be worth 5% of your grade. So that's kind of how it's broken down. Let's see, just kind of a note, if you have between a 70 to 75% of this class, I may suggest that you get some extra testing done just to make sure that you are ready for level 5. So, just because you're getting 70 or higher, I can decide to fail you if I feel like you're not ready. All right, so just kind of have that, in your mind. This is how the grade is broken down. Just kind of your A's, B's, and C's. So, and then we have the refunds. Okay, this is important. Okay, the very last day to drop this class is Friday, June 23rd. And the last day to drop for a complete refund will be Tuesday, May 23rd. And then last day to drop for a 50% refund is Thursday, May 25th. All right, so let me see. So yeah, keep that in mind in case you decide for whatever reason that you need to drop this class. I will not be giving early finals. Okay, not happening. Don't ask. You need to be here on the day of the final. I'm certain we're going to have some kind of tutoring or other services available. Once I have that information, I will let you know. I do not have that information at this point. All right, so I feel like this is a lot of information. If you've made it all the way through this video, good job. I'm glad for staying in there. So to sum up, a couple of things that are very important for you to know, all right, and that you just need to make sure and remember. With attendance, you can miss class 2 times and it will not affect your grade, all right? If you miss 3 times, your grade will start to go down, okay? So 2 times for whatever reason, doctor's appointment, medical emergency, car trouble, whatever the reason for missing the class is, you've got 2 absences, all right? So just remember that. You can miss class 2 times. And then the other thing I want you to remember is phones in class, all right? Be respectful with your phones. No texting. Don't answer calls unless you absolutely need to. During tests, phones will be turned in to me and will be at the front of the classroom, all right? So just to kind of keep you aware of those things. Now, one last thing. Oh, right. Make sure as soon as this is done, get on to Talon and take quiz number 1. All right, I suggest you do that right away while things are still fresh in your mind. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in class. I will also, feel free to ask me in class or send me an email. All right, so hopefully the next videos will be shorter than this one. I apologize for the length. Have a great day or evening, and I will see you in class.